what do you think actually makes a good story? Because you've just given me some pretty amazing like examples of like things you've heard people like say when you've interviewed them.
I think, I mean, you know, I'm biased. I like particular types of stories, I know that. And they're not the usual stories of sport. I don't care about results, scores. They've never really interested me. The stories that I love are the stories that kind of reveal why or what it is that makes someone tick and what it is that is unique to them. You know, so these moments happen in sport where, and we see it all the time, it's why people love sport, because you don't actually know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And there are people that just come from nowhere, or there are other people like the great champions, you know, that no one else will come close to. If you're talking about Serena Williams or Novak Djokovic, Roger Federer, whoever you want to pick, some of the great basketballers, golfers, any sport really, and there is something unique about them that has enabled them to become that. And I remember saying to my children, I've got 3 boys, and my mum always said, "You're so lucky you never had any girls," because they might not have survived. But I remember always saying to the boys, because they all love their sport and they all love a different kind of sport, I remember saying to them, if you have a look at the great champions, you know, and the people that are remembered for all sorts of reasons, their greatness, it's physical, yes, but they are great because it's so much more than physical. And so all of the great champions, and a lot of them are nice, some of them are not nice, they've all got their own kind of characters, but what makes them great is that it's here and it's here. And so they get their greatness because they know how to combine that with that and their physical skills to become the champions and the legends they are. So I think any story that taps into that kind of motivation and what makes you think differently or feel differently or, you know, inspires you differently, those stories are fascinating for me.
So for you, it's more beyond the actual, I guess, game of sport. More about the story
much more. Yeah, and very much about the person.
Yeah.
Because every person, basically, we're the sum of every single one of our experiences, and so the more experiences you can have, you know, you're going to get a very different kind of answer to that sum. And so it's those experiences, you know, or the people that influence them, or one of the things I like to do when I interview people is not just read about them, but read about what other people have said about them, or what teammates think about them, or kind of think of a different sport altogether and go, okay, I'm going to interview this person. What do I really want to know about that person? What hasn't ever really been explored? And how could I relate that to another story so that in getting them to kind of offer something, I'll tell a story about somebody else and say, this is what impressed me because they were just so different. And kind of give them, you know, it's like giving them a shovel so they can dig the dirt and get down deep into their own story by thinking about somebody else's story. Because not all of them, you know, want to open up about everything all the time. And so that's one of the things that I like to do.
It does feel like, and I mean, you could definitely speak about it better than me because you've been doing journalism for a lot longer than me, but the kind of like ways that people are telling stories now, like I feel like social media is being used a lot more. But how have you seen, I guess, just the sports journalism, specifically landscape, like change over the years in the ways that people are telling stories and writing articles and whatever?
Look, you are at the forefront of that, right? Because you've been doing it already for years and you're one of the first early adopters and it's fantastic. Like, look what you can do. You don't need a studio in a big block, you know, with padded walls and, you know, $1,000 microphones, and you need a mobile phone, you know, and you don't even need a microphone. It sounds better when you've got one. But what you can do now is just phenomenal. And to think that, you know, I've got a real beef with mainstream media and how they're still so rigid in what they do, when there's all of these opportunities. And the way you tell stories, of course, is so much freer and so different. And that's what people want. You know, people want something that is real, it's authentic, you know, not so scripted and professional studio and, oh, the light wasn't quite right. It's like, who cares? When you're watching, if you've got someone telling you a really interesting story, you don't care if the mic's buzzing and it's a bit dark and there's shadows in the background. It doesn't matter, because it's the story that lives. And I think social media has just given 1,000 more opportunities for stories to be told in that kind of way. And I just think it's so exciting. I get really depressed when I turn on whatever channel, which is rare. I've got to say, I hardly ever watch TV. But you put it on and a sports update comes on and, oh yeah, so-and-so beat so-and-so. It's like, really? Like, that hasn't changed for 50 years. And yet you've got people like you telling stories and being really interested in all the other stuff that makes sport happen. Of course, give a score. I'm not saying you know, you're not interested, but I'm saying there's so much more. And I just feel like they are missing stories, which is great for people like you, because you can keep telling them.
I mean, now, like, you've got a podcast and, like, you're doing a lot of social media as well, where I guess you started off more with the radio. Like, how have you had to, because you're obviously still doing a lot of journalism now, like, how have you had to change your approach to it over the years?
Oh, well, you know, the last World Cup I did, the Men's World Cup, which was in Qatar in 22, I was doing, you know, early morning crosses into breakfast, which was like 11:30 p.m. over there. And then I'd be up again at like 3:30 a.m. to file radio stuff for the day. I'd have to write a piece for online, and then I'd be going out and filming stories to put together, to edit together and send back, you know, for the 7 p.m. news, and then do a cross into the late night world show or whatever it was. So I was kind of working 18 hours a day, which you expect to do at those big events. Yeah. And I did it all on my mobile phone. So, but it was quite funny because some people might not like me telling this story, but I remember I'd set up my phone, you know, have my mic, and have the backdrop, yeah, everything's fine, and I'd ring up the ABC, whichever line's room, and they go, oh yeah, can you just tell your cameraman, just tell your camo, if you could just tilt slightly down. I go, yeah, okay, can you just tilt slightly down? And I'd do that. Tilt it slightly down. How's that? Is that all right? And yeah, much better. Yeah, thanks for that. It's like, yeah, I don't have a camo. It's my mobile phone on my tripod. And half the people didn't even know. These are people I was working with, you know. And so that just kind of shows the real shift. And there are some that are just stuck there and the shift has kind of progressed. But I always think it's exciting, you know. I think it's really exciting. I remember sitting on a plane once and there was this woman who, where was I coming back from? Some Olympics or other. And I was flying to somewhere else. She was an American lady. And we started talking. She was a black woman. And then she told me, yeah, I played in the Olympic volleyball team in 1970-something. I'm like, what? Wow. So I pulled out my phone, my little plug-in mic, and we did this little interview on the plane. Wow. And so by the time I landed, I had something to post. Like, you know, that's great. I love that.
Yeah, just so much more efficient to do stuff with the phone.
Yeah, it
like
is,
you said, couldn't have done that 20 years ago, I guess.
Yeah. And I think now the difference too is there was an expectation years ago that everything had to be, you know, professional, perfectly professional. Now, I think people appreciate stories that are real, and real life is not professional. You know, real life can be noisy or deathly quiet. It can be dark, it can be windy, it can be all sorts of things. Yeah. And I think people appreciate that now.
Well, I guess I've got to ask your perspective on like the rise of influencers as well, because I feel like we're seeing a lot more of them, and also I've seen a lot of influencers like, you know, at sporting events, and it feels like they're trying to grow the game as well. But how do you think they're going to, I guess, impact the future of sport?
I think it's I was going to say a different thing. I think what social media has given us, and you go back, if you look through history, right, there used to be, we're sitting in a bookshop, we're sitting in Glebe Books, and there's books lining the walls, but there used to be a time when books weren't printed to give to the general public because they didn't think the public could deal with it, you know? And they'd print up the news for the local town and pin it on a board, and people could stop and read if they wanted to. When I lived in South Africa didn't have television. And so I think that's why my love, you know, was radio before television, because I had no interest in television. I'd never seen one till we moved to Hawaii. And so you follow what happens with media and how people can consume media.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually change anything, it just magnifies it more. So instead of walking by a notice board and reading the news of the town once a week in the little glass cabinet, you can pick up a book anytime you like. You can go on a website now anytime you like. You're getting news as it's being made. And so it just makes it more and more accessible, and it kind of magnifies the story. So I don't think it changes things. And so influencers back in the day were the same people, but they'd have to do ads on television, or ads in magazines to try and sell you something or hook you onto a sport or whatever. And so I think influence has always been there, but influencers today, they've got these, multi-million-dollar profiles that can sell anything, and they're used to sell things. And so I think the big difference today is young kids, as they're coming through, they don't need to be banned from social media or not be able to access it. They need to be taught what to look for. So it's the same as it's ever been. There's always been good journalism and bad journalism. There's always been page 3 girls, that people used to hop on to perv at the good-looking girl. I mean, there are places now where they still have clickbait. It's the same thing, just more broad, more magnified. And so if kids are taught, that's good, that's not good, think for yourself, that's not a journalist, that's an influencer. So just think about where they're coming from. They were paid however much to do that. That's fine. Good luck to them. But to know the difference between those things, and I think that's something that's a little bit lacking still.
Okay, so it's kind of, I guess, just changing forms. It's doing pretty much the same, but I guess with the rise of technology, you think it's just, influencers are in a different format now, like new social media.
Yeah. And I mean, it's really funny because I was looking at this one day, I was writing something for the Fin Review, and I was looking at the number one soccer player, Cristiano Ronaldo. He was number one for many years, and the number of followers he's got, it's unbelievable, hundreds of millions, right? So when he started a YouTube channel, and you think about us, we start a YouTube channel, it's a slow build, then it might take off and then it goes back again, and so it depends on the stories you've got. He started a YouTube channel. He sends a tweet, hey, here's my new YouTube channel. Before he's even put anything up, he's got millions of followers and he's earning heaps of money from that.
Wow.
And good luck to the guy, because he has worked so hard and he was phenomenal and his self-belief is incredible. And so I don't ever think negatively of any of those things. I just think that's great. He deserves that. And it's fantastic. But also to recognise that gives people a lot of influence and a lot of power. And so people consuming it just need to think about that. Where's this coming from? So you hope that he's not being manipulated, all of those things. It's complex. Yeah,
I'm definitely with you on what you said about the social media ban before as well.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's so sad, and people are going to find ways around it anyway.
Yeah, that's true.
How is that ever going to be controlled? It can't be. And so I think social media is excellent for kids, with supervision, with all of the right sort of protocols in place.
Yeah.
But that's for a mum and dad to decide, or teachers at school. It's for education. It's for all of those sorts of things, not for a government ban. Yeah.
Up to them, I guess. And I'm kind of getting to the end.
Well, no, it's up to us, right?
Yeah, that's
We're
true.
the people. Yeah, and I think this is one of the things about politics that has really changed, that I've seen change, because we see so many politicians all the time now. We kind of think they're in charge. Actually, they're not. We elect them. We're lucky.
True.
We live in a country where we elect people to be our representative. So it's up to us, and it's up to them to reflect us. So that's why it's always important, I think, for everybody to be engaged in that political conversation. It's really important, because who we elect is going to be there to represent us. So we need to think carefully about where we put our vote.
I guess one of the reasons that I'm chatting to you as well is because you've got a book coming out. But I just wanted to ask, like, what inspired you to, I guess, write a book like at this stage of your career?
Good question, which I asked myself a lot while I was writing it. Everyone has always said to me, "Oh, you need to write a book," and it's like, why? And they say, "Oh, you've got so many stories." Like, no, but they're not my stories. It's always other people's stories that I've been lucky enough to help tell. Anyway, and then I thought, oh, well, why not? Because I'd resigned from the ABC. I'm on a couple of boards, I do a couple of other things, and I thought maybe now's the time to sit down and write it. And so it's been interesting because I actually don't know. I say this to my husband all the time. It's like, who'd want to read it? I wouldn't. I don't care about my story. I'm just so interested in all of these other people's stories. And you go, oh, no, people care. It's like, okay, well, we'll see. But I know that my life has been quite different to many people because I've been lucky enough to have lived and worked in so many different places and had so many different experiences. And I also know that means sometimes I see things very differently. And and so now I'm writing about why I see things differently to some people.
Yeah.
And I think, people have often asked me, some other journos have asked me, how come you're swimming against the tide? It's like, well, I can only do it the way I see it, right?
Exactly.
And you might all be going that way, that's fine, but I'm not seeing it that way. And so I'm heading that way.
Well, I'm very excited to read it. I'm sure a lot of other people are as well.
Well, we'll see. But there's a chapter on you too, so because at the end of the book I really wanted to talk about the future. What does the future look like? And you can surmise and you can predict and you can use all of your knowledge of the past to try and work out which way things are going. But there's a lot that you don't know. But one of the things that is definitely in the future, I've written about AI and I've written about sports journalism. And you're the face of that, Abby. So, chapter on you.
Thank you. I was very flattered when you asked me. I was very surprised and excited, so thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
But I've got a couple more things I wanted to ask. So one of the things I think I mentioned in the intro is that you received a Lifetime Achievement Award at the ASC Media Awards a couple of years ago. And I think even now you're still studying at Melbourne Law School, so you're still kind of learning a lot more, even though you've been doing journalism your whole life. But are there things that you still, specific things you still want to do and achieve, in your career?
Yes, so much. So I've got a Master's in Communications. I'm halfway through that Master's in law, specialising in sport from Melbourne Uni. But when COVID hit, they got rid of a lot of the sports subjects. And so I've really struggled to, some of the, I don't care about contract law for real estate, so I'm not going to do that. So that's going to be a slow build. But in the process, I've also just started a Master's in Sports Diplomacy at Hungary University of Sports Science in Budapest. So yeah, I just love learning. And the other thing is, when you're learning and you're registered with a uni, you get access to a whole lot of stuff that I love reading about what work is being done in academia and research and science and technology, which you don't read in media that's available to the public. And so I love that because I think that also helps you stay a bit ahead of the pack because you know what work is being done in the lab, so to speak. So I love learning. I'm never going to stop learning.
Yeah, it's pretty cool that you're studying in Budapest.
Yeah, I know. So I've got to fly in and out for hardcore weeks, intensive weeks. Yeah, and then come back and do some of my writing, some of the stuff I can do online. But yeah, it's good.
Why not?
Yeah, why not?
I've just got one thing I wanted to ask you. So obviously I've covered a lot of different topics asking you about sport and just the involvement that you've had in it over your life. But I guess just what has covering sport all of these years given you? Why have you chosen to stay in sport and keep covering it?
Look, I feel like it is an absolute gift. Every single day I tell myself how lucky I am. And I really do believe that because I see what a lot of other people do for work and it's really hard and there's not a lot of inspiration or motivation, but they get up and they do it, and these are the jobs that the rest of society, we couldn't function without them doing that. So I always feel incredibly lucky that I have stumbled into a job where I just get to talk to people who are very good at what they do. I mean, it's not even a job. How can you describe that as a job? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, I just feel incredibly lucky. And so I also love the fact that the general public loves to hear about stories.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky to be that person in the middle that can tap into a story and sort of beam it out that way to people who want to consume it. So, and I think all of that, like storytelling, it's thousands of years old. You know, look at the Indigenous people. They've been telling oral stories for 60,000 years. And there's a reason for that, because storytelling helps us understand our world, and storytelling inspires us and motivates us, and it keeps the world moving and growing. So to be able to be part of that, yeah, I'm very lucky.
Yeah, just hearing you speak about it, it doesn't even seem like you're talking about a job. It just seems
It's
like
not
you're
a
talking
job.
about a hobby.
I often say that's not a job. I know when it's a job, when I've got, you know, my kids, or who are all grown up now, or my husband, they'll say something to me. I've been in the middle of researching something, or I'm editing, and they'll say something, and I know I look at them and go, yeah, and then I just keep going with what I'm doing, and then they'll be gone, and I'll finish what I'm doing. I'll look up, where's everyone gone? It's like, we told you. It's like, oh, did you? Like, I just get buried in it, and I love it.
At least you love it, though.
I love
That's
it.
why you've stayed doing it. Well, thank you so much, Tracey. And thank you for all of your time. And it was really great to hear you chat about, all of your stories. And I'm excited to read your book later as well.
Well, really lovely to sit here and have this chat with you, Abby. Really
you.
appreciate it. Keep doing what you do.
I will. Thank
It's
you.
fabulous.